It's time once again for the Maple Grove City Report. I'm Dave Kaiser from Northwest Community Television. Coming up next, a look at what's new in Maple Grove and also a recap of the most recent council meeting and an award to talk about for the city of Maple Grove. All next on the Maple Grove City Report. And thank you again for joining us on the Maple Grove City Report. And as you see, it is the man of many hats, Ken Ashfield, joining us today. Welcome, Ken.
Pleasure, Dave.
Al is off doing some very important work around town, we understand. But we've got Ken here. We've got quite a few things to talk about, and we'll talk a little engineering and development in the city in just a few minutes. But first, let's start with an award. The city of Maple Grove has a nice award that they've received. Tell us about that.
Yes, Dave. It was from the Minnesota Association of Government Communicators, the term being appropriate for the award, and the award is for Award of Excellence in the redesign of the city website.
And that was a little while in process, wasn't it? It always takes a long time for those.
It takes a while. It's been up and running for a year or more now, and we've introduced a Facebook version of it and a blog version of it, and it's been going well, yes.
So do you have your own blog for engineering items in the city of Maple Grove yet?
Yes.
You do? All right.
Essentially, all the departments will put a blog report out, or a news item is what it's really intended to do.
Excellent.
And it's to give just a taste of what's going on, and it tweaks a reader's interest to perhaps pursue that interest further on that particular subject. So yes, so engineering and Public Works will put a blog out, and as well as the other departments on an ongoing basis.
All right, and again, you can find that through the new designed website. Did you ever think you'd be blogging?
And if you would have asked me 5 years ago,
right?
I don't know if I would have even thought we would be
or
tweeting.
what is blogging, right?
But we've been using Twitter as well on some of our road projects. So, you know, we are in the 21st century already by a few years, so we have to get up with strong communication out to our residents and even those that are not residents that may be passing through and have an interest, you know.
All right, good to know. Again, congratulations to the city for that. Let's run over some other items happening around town. Speaking a little of construction, Weaver Lake Road is coming along.
Yes, that is a project that we undertook last year, and most of the work was done last year. They will be completing the project fully by the end of June. Actually, we're looking at more like June 18th to have that project finished and totally open to traffic. And that'll be a nice project to have done. Not only accommodates motor vehicles, and there are a lot of folks that want to use that road, but it also then brings in the trail components.
Sure.
And part of that project, we installed an underground crossing, or below grade crossing, from the north side to the south side, the north side having to park.
I was not aware of that.
And there's a number of residential developments occurring on the south, so that'll make that connection, as well as if you're on the south side of the road as a biker or pedestrian, you can actually cross over to the north, and that's in the area of Jonquil Lane.
Okay. So, very nice.
So that'll work good.
Yeah, because that is a busy road, so being a walker going across might not be the most exciting thing to do.
That's correct, yes.
Right. Let's talk about Elm Creek Boulevard then. You've got a little paving going on.
Yes, Elm Creek Boulevard from Weaver Lake Road north to County Road 30. That part is going on right now, and actually that repaving project is going to extend south through part of the commercial area, down around the area of 80th Circle. And that pavement has gotten pretty old, and those viewers that have driven that road, and many people do, the pavement's gotten fairly rough over the years. And it's fairly old, actually. The pavement is around 20 years old on that road.
Okay.
And that is about the life expectancy when you put that amount of traffic on it.
Exactly.
So the project has been moving along, but struggling with the rain that we ran into.
Yes.
We are now in the 6th day of rain, and that usually shuts down construction entirely. In this particular case, they're grinding away some of the pavement.
Okay.
So that part of that work is still going on, but we really can't be paving in this kind of weather, but it's supposed to clear up tomorrow.
Let's hope so. We'll keep our fingers crossed as we tape this in the latter part of May. Let's talk a little bit about graffiti. You wanted to make a little mention for viewers about graffiti in town.
Yes, we've been seeing it becomes cyclical in a sense, and I don't know if there's so-called artists that go about their business of graffiti, and then we kind of track them down, and then they go into hiding or whatever,
Okay.
and then whether it's a new group or whatever, but we've been getting tagged with graffiti in the last few weeks, and it's just something we have to keep an eye on. It's always additional effort to have to clean that up, because it may be someone's art, but it's not art to all of us, so we go back and have to clean it up, repaint it, and so hopefully that goes away here soon.
And the process, if people notice something, I would guess would be to call the police department. That's the first stop there, or what do you suggest?
That would be the best.
Okay.
The police department has been tracking this for quite some time.
Okay.
And they can tell that the origination of those that are tagging, doing the graffiti, has been changing. The type of art or the words change.
Okay.
So hopefully we can put an end to that too.
Okay, very good. Let's talk about houses in the city of Maple Grove. We usually give you an update of how things are going this year compared to last year, and the latest numbers are showing what?
Well, we have 82 single-family building permits as of this date, and quite a few coming through the process yet.
Okay.
And that compares to 74 last year at this time, so about a 10% increase over last year, and I think that's not unexpected within the housing market, as for those that have been tracking home values and the number of building permits coming through. And then, of course, we've got the various multi-housing projects that have been approved by the City Council, and they're going to be getting started here shortly.
So looking ahead to the rest of the year, it sounds like there are some that are in the pipeline, and so that number should rise. And do you expect it to be about a 10% increase from last year as the year ends, or maybe even more than that?
It may be. We will see as we get towards the end of the year. Usually there's a ramping up of more activity in the springtime for obvious reasons, and then usually as well in the fall, as they want to get in the ground before winter comes. So summer probably won't tell us a whole lot, but perhaps by fall we'll know a lot, know how the year will end.
How about the weather? Has that discouraged that industry as far as getting things started or coming in and making proposals? Have you seen any of that?
Well, it has slowed down a lot of the work that's going on right now. As far as the proposals, I can't say that the weather has impeded that so much.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about skate parks. I know one of Ken's favorite activities when he's not in the suit is to be out at the skate park. And tell us about your new park. How's that coming?
I hope you're being facetious.
I'll be right there with you. Maybe not. But there is going to be an opportunity for people in Maple Grove to do that. Tell us about that.
We're all right next to the community center. If you've seen construction activities going on, and it'd be just to the west of the community center.
Right.
We had an old skate park, and construction activities removed what was there. It was relatively old and pretty much antiquated, and bringing in an entirely new facility for basically all those types of tricks that skaters like to do. And believe me, I don't know them.
So it would be permanent there? It will be
Yes.
something that will be available as long as they can use it in the weather?
Yes.
Okay.
You bet.
And so the official opening of it will be when, do you think?
I wish I had that answer for you.
Okay.
Again, it's related to construction and that type of thing, but
Right.
My belief is that it's about the middle of summer.
Okay.
When we're looking at that.
Good, so keep an eye on that. That can be an activity that maybe the kids can do while the parents might be at the farmer's market. Tell us a
Right.
little bit about the farmer's market. They had a little preview. How did that
Yes.
go?
Very well. We are embarking on our 10th season already. It's hard to believe that we've been at this 10 years now, and the farmer's market in Maple Grove is very popular for both vendors and shoppers.
Right.
And we had a preview back in May, on May 9th, and about 1,000 shoppers came through.
Fantastic.
And there was other activities than just shopping. There was other entertainment and that kind of thing as well. And of course, it's all getting ready for the real shopper, real
outdoor
farmers
version.
market, the outdoor version, which will begin on June 13th, and of course it's still on Thursdays at 3 o'clock. And it expects to be a very good year, just as we have noticed in the past, and it becomes more and more popular all the time. And as I said, vendors really get excited about it, and it's well rated.
Yeah, very
farmers
successful.
market.
And for people that might be new to town, exactly where does that take place?
Again, that's at the community center, and it's in the just to the west of the building. And there's a parking lot on the north side, and the vendors set up on the south side of that east-west road through the community center area.
Nice opportunity to park close by so you can buy a lot, right? And then not have to
Yes,
carry
yes.
too far to get to your car.
There you go.
They've got it all figured out there.
Yep.
How about music lovers? If you're interested in music, a couple options, and we won't throw this one at you, but I know they've got a number of concerts in the park scheduled, and so if you're interested in that, you can look at the city's website as well and find out about some of the music happening at the town green. That should be starting soon.
That will start in June as well, and you're right. There's a full slate of music programmed, scheduled programmed, that will be on our website if it isn't already. And that usually goes throughout the 3 months of summer. And there's varying events, some during the day, mostly at night, or at least the larger headliners at night. And those are, of course, free to attend for the most part. The Lions usually has an event that headlines some larger name bands where they have a fee to get in.
And around Maple Grove Days, obviously some activities happening
Right.
there. So go to the website to find out about the music in the park and those activities. But if you can't wait, there's another opportunity for music in the park in a little different way. Tell us about what you've got coming.
Well, the Rotary Club is having a little bit of a music fest in the park, and that's on June 12th. And they haven't really scheduled the time yet, but they're looking at around 6:30 that evening.
Okay, so another great community activity. Again, go to the website to find out a little bit more about that. Any other items happening in town before we get to the agenda?
Just a couple. Our dome that's located at
Right.
Senior High School, that had a very successful season. Of course, we take the dome down in the summertime to open up the play fields for use during the summer. Just the way the dome is constructed, it'd be very hot in there otherwise. But the artificial turf that's within the dome is usable during the summer.
Sure.
Usually, it supports such activities of soccer and softball practice and that type of thing. Some of the sporting events, it really is not conducive for using the track that goes around the outside. But during soccer time, it is.
Okay.
And they recorded around 9,000 people that came in just to use the track.
That's fantastic.
Which is a large amount.
So great opportunity to get out of the 2010 0-degree weather. And
Yes.
what do they keep it, about 50, 60 degrees in there? So you
I-
need a light jacket,
Yeah, it's about 50, I think.
but okay.
Yes. Yes.
So opportunity for people to get out in the winter and walk around. So get ready for that to come.
And then
come
just
again
one
next year.
last
Yeah.
item, the Weaver Lake Park is going to be opening up on June 1st, and that's fully for the use of the beach with lifeguard and that type of thing.
Okay, very good.
That's about all I have.
And opportunity there to enjoy that because you've got another park in town through Three Rivers that is closed this year, right? Under a
Yes.
little construction. Maybe a quick reminder for people about that.
Yes, it'd be the Fish Lake Regional Park, and the main access is off of Bass Lake Road. And that park has quite a few opportunities of recreation. They added the dog park as of about a year or so ago, which has been fairly popular. Of course, they have the beach and the boat landing or launching area.
Right.
So what they are planning is right around July 15th or the middle of July, they're going to be shutting that park down for redoing the pavements within the park. They have the same maintenance operations that we have on our city streets and
Right.
that type of thing.
So it has been around for a while, and
Yep.
time has come, and few updates to maybe some of the facilities there as well happening at the same time. Is that what I understand?
Yes, they're going to be adding a maintenance facility,
Okay.
and it's kind of out of sight, out of mind for the normal park user. But yes, they are adding a maintenance building, which involves extending utilities such as sewer and water to that building. So there's a little bit of everything going on all over within the park. So they decided to just close it down for, I don't know, I suppose somewhere on the order of 6 to 8 weeks.
Okay. All right, good. Thanks, Ken, for that update. And now let's go to the council meeting of May 20th, have a few items to cover then. And if we have a few minutes left, we'll get back to Ken and pick his brain a little bit about some road projects. But let's talk about the council meeting.
At the council meeting, they approved the appointment of a couple new police officers. And those new positions, they are not new positions, they're actually filling vacated positions when we have some retirees, and then there's a little jostling around within the department to
Okay.
backfill those positions that where people retired
Right.
from. And then they received the resignation from an Arbor Committee member, Teresa Moss, and council took the opportunity to thank her for her service, and I suspect that we will be out recruiting for someone to fill in that role with the Arbor Committee
Okay.
coming up in the future. So for residents that are interested in serving on that committee, keep your eye open for that
Excellent.
opportunity. And then they set a upcoming public hearing for liquor license to the Whole Foods store, which hasn't opened yet, but will
That
be.
must mean it's getting close. That's usually a good sign that
That's
it's
always
coming.
it's always a good sign. It's always a good sign when they start construction because
Yes.
there's a point of no return. We get a lot of development proposals that look good, but they never really get traction and get actual to the point of construction. So
Have you
that's
heard
good.
about an opening date for them then? Is there something that has been floated out?
My recollection is that they had been talking about the middle of July.
July, okay.
So, and that's coming awfully fast. And then as far as new developments that the council considered was the Ave Maria School, and that's out kind of in the southwest quadrant of Bass Lake Road and Jewel Lane, which Jewel is a smaller road than Lawndale, but it's west of Lawndale.
Okay,
And the school, it started out as Cedar Crest Academy
Right.
many years ago, and they had intentions of developing a school for K through 12 and somewhat of a larger school campus. And over the years, after reviewing their needs, they have scaled that back somewhat to just K through 8.
okay.
And they disposed or sold off some of their property to developments and that type of thing. So this is finally coming through. Been on the drawing boards for probably a decade, and council received the proposal on Monday evening, and a lot of folks were in attendance from the school. A lot of support for the project,
Great.
and received approval for that project, and that should get started sometime this summer, early summer is what their intent.
And the goal to get into it as a school, I would suspect not this coming fall, obviously, but
no.
maybe the year after?
I would think somewhere
Okay.
around there.
All right,
It's their first phase is something under 50,000 square feet, I believe, and then they have space and plans for a couple expansions in the future. Whether those expansion areas happen simultaneously or
Right.
not, it's kind of like 2 additional wings off the building,
Okay.
But one of the wings is a gymnasium, so they could happen concurrently as the need dictates.
Okay, very good.
And then just normal reports from staff. We had our Arbor Day celebration last Saturday at the community center in the afternoon, and we had a large crowd there. About 300 people participated. Also, what we had planned for last Saturday was the annual volunteer planting of medians.
And what happened with the weather?
It was one of those 6 days
Yes,
that I mentioned.
I agree.
So we postponed that until tomorrow.
Okay.
And of course, it's not as easy for volunteers to come on a Thursday as it is on a Saturday. So Public Works will be taking over much of that task as our number of volunteers have dwindled away.
Makes sense.
And that was about it for the meeting that I can tell you about.
All right, well, let's talk a little bit. We have a couple minutes here about your area and a little bit about road projects. First of all, down at the Capitol, let's talk a little bit about what happened at the state level. I know you had an interested eye on what was happening there related to road projects throughout the metro and state. And what's the report? What have you heard?
Well, there was a number of things that were introduced at the Capitol. Some of the introductions did not go very far. Some of them made some pathway, but then kind of stopped. A couple of the items that were introduced essentially was a bill related to Trunk Highway 610 from our delegation, and then there was a bill introduced to push a bonding bill for the Brockton Lane interchange.
Okay.
And for those that aren't really familiar with that, there's about a 5-mile, just over 5-mile stretch between the Maple Grove Parkway interchange and the opportunity to get off in Rogers. So there's a need and a lack of an interchange in between, and that's when I refer to the Brockton Lane interchange. Both of those projects basically stalled, but perhaps the more interesting ones that I'd been watching more closely was related to actually transportation funding.
Right.
And there were so many proposals that were flying around that they seemed to get traction, but quickly died for one reason or another. And it was anywhere from a basic gas tax increase, when the governor was talking about expanding the sales tax, that was going to, or one proposal was to include gas in that.
Okay.
There was a wheelage tax that counties have the ability to put on, and part of that did pass. They're also talking just generally about a transportation improvement districts for that cities could incorporate as a way of generating funds to do streets. I could speak for an hour about how cities go about funding their streets, but,
Sure.
but the cities do have a lacking tool to fund their streets. They're reliant on either special assessments or a general tax levy, and this other tool would have at least broadened that ability and perhaps make it more fair for those that pay for the roads. Most, if not all, of those items died on the vine at the Capitol. Whether they come up again next year or not, I don't know. This particular year we had Senator Dibble and Representative Horstein basically carrying the load on that, and they were both very much interested in getting these funding mechanisms through. And it was just a problematic year at the legislature in general with all the other issues going on, mostly related to the taxing and budget and the marriage amendments and all of that type of thing, that their attention, if it was there, it wasn't there fully, and there just wasn't the appetite to pass any type of legislation that would increase transportation funding. and the governor took a hard stand against any gas tax increase, so that really put everyone in the box, and which was somewhat interesting because the governor appointed a task force about 18 months ago to do a very detailed study of what are the needs and funding sources for transportation, and gas tax increase was one of the cornerstones of those recommendations, and then but he just didn't have the appetite for it, at least this year anyway.
Right, okay.
So-
So back to the drawing board on some of those.
Back
As
to-
far as some of those projects, the Brockton and the 610, again, was it just not high enough of the priority list that it failed right away, or is there a feeling that there's other projects that are in front of it that this wouldn't even be considered? How does
Well,
that play out?
Well, the bonding bill in general struggled, and it's not unusual for whether it's the Brockton Lane interchange or a community skate park in some other city. It's not unusual for cities to throw in their favorite little project.
Right.
For the most part, usually they struggle to get through the process. In the case of Brockton Lane, they were looking for a bonding bill that would move that project along. But there's a lot of other projects that need to happen before that one. But there still is a role or a process for them to still pursue that project. Number one, it needs a lot of private partnership funding from that source, and cities of Dayton and Rogers is hitting the ground hard to come up with that private partnership funding. And once they get that in place, then they can go to another funding source, which is we call it the TED funding source, which is directed towards economic development.
Okay. So is it Dayton and Rogers that are more backing this and behind
Yes.
it? Where does Maple Grove fit as far as support and really the impact that interchange would have on Maple Grove residents?
It would help the city of Maple Grove from the standpoint that it provides another avenue for some of the traffic to take versus coming into the first interchange, which would be Maple Grove Parkway, hitting a congested I-94, 494, and 694,
Yeah.
and then start jumping off onto
Right.
roads within Maple Grove that are not intended to carry that kind of traffic.
Sure.
So it'd help us from that standpoint, but Maple Grove has taken the initiative to build most of our interchanges and improve what we did have to accommodate our increased traffic as the city has developed. So we've been at the table. We're just sitting back and watching this one.
Understand. All right. Something tells me we might be talking about those for a little while longer. Ken, thanks again for your time.
Welcome.
Always appreciate the update. If you have questions or comments, we're going to give you a phone number here. And we mentioned the website quite a few times. Let's take a look at that, maplegrovemn.gov, the award-winning website for Maple Grove. If you want to go there to find out about some of the information that Ken has been talking about, you can certainly visit the website. Monday, June 3rd is the next council meeting, 7:30 at the Government Center, and phone number at the bottom of the screen if you want to call up the Government Center. And if you have questions or comments for the program, 533-1710 is our viewer response line. For Ken Ashfeld, I'm Dave Kaiser. Thanks again for joining us on the Maple Grove City Report.